An abandoned dog saw his owners bring another dog home. The bitter winter winds swept through Jackson, Wyoming, carrying snowflakes that settled softly on the grounds of New Horizons shelter. Through the swirling snow, a golden-furred mixed-breed dog stood motionless at the shelter's entrance, her eyes fixed on the endless white road ahead. This was Bella, whose story would soon touch the hearts of many in ways no one could have predicted. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give it a like. Let us know which city you're watching us from. Stay tuned. Emily, the shelter's director, had witnessed countless animals arrive at New Horizons, each bearing their own silent stories of abandonment and neglect. But something about Bella's demeanor caught her attention immediately. While other dogs gradually adapted to shelter life, finding comfort in their new surroundings, Bella remained steadfast in her vigil by the gate, her eyes constantly searching the snow-covered road, as if waiting for someone to return. Day after day, Emily observed Bella's unusual behavior. The dog's golden fur, now dusted with snowflakes, seemed to shimmer in the winter light, but her eyes held a profound sadness that spoke of deeper wounds. Other dogs would play in the shelter yard, find comfort in their kennels or seek attention from the staff, but Bella's routine remained unchanged. She would spend hours by the gate, her gaze never wavering from the road that had brought her here. Emily had always believed in the power of social media to connect abandoned animals with potential adopters. She had seen countless success stories unfold through the shelter's online presence, where photos and stories of their residents often led to happy endings. Looking at Bella's gentle face and noting her peculiar behavior, Emily knew this story needed to be shared. As she prepared her first post about Bella, Emily carefully chose her words, describing the dog's gentle nature and the touching way she waited by the gate. She included photos of Bella's vigilant pose, her golden fur contrasting against the white snow, and her soulful eyes that seemed to hold so many unspoken stories. The shelter's social media followers had always been supportive, but something about Bella's story seemed to strike a particularly resonant chord. The response was immediate. Comments began pouring in, expressing sympathy for the melancholic dog whose loyalty seemed unshaken despite her circumstances. People were drawn to Bella's story, sharing their own experiences with pet adoption and abandonment. The post began to spread beyond the shelter's usual audience, reaching further into the community than Emily had anticipated. What Emily didn't know was that these posts would soon bring unexpected visitors to the shelter's gates. As she watched Bella maintain her daily vigil, she couldn't have predicted the series of events that would unfold, beginning with the arrival of a car that would change everything. The sight of that vehicle pulling into the shelter's driveway would mark the first of many turning points in Bella's story. A family stepped out of the car, but they weren't there to offer Bella a new home. Instead, they carried a puppy in their arms, another animal they claimed they could no longer care for. The moment Bella saw them, her entire demeanor transformed. She ran toward the family with newfound energy, her tail wagging with hope and recognition. But as quickly as that spark of joy had appeared, it vanished when she realized they weren't there for her. Emily watched the scene unfold with a heavy heart. Bella's initial excitement, followed by her visible disappointment, spoke volumes about her past. The dog stopped mid-run, her body frozen as she observed from a distance while Emily spoke with the family. The light in Bella's eyes dimmed as she watched the interaction, a silent witness to another chapter in her own story of abandonment. The impact of this encounter weighed heavily on Emily. Something in the way Bella had responded to her former family, coupled with the visible distress in her eyes as she watched them leave once again, strengthened Emily's resolve. She knew then that finding Bella a new home wasn't just about providing shelter. It was about healing deeper wounds and finding a place where she could truly feel loved again. As the winter day drew to a close, Emily sat at her desk, contemplating her next steps. Bella's story had only begun to unfold, and something told her that the posts she had shared would lead to more than just sympathy from social media followers. Little did she know that among those following Bella's story was someone whose intervention would set in motion a chain of events that would transform not only Bella's life, but the lives of everyone connected to her tale. As Emily continued to share updates about Bella on the shelter's social media, her posts caught the attention of someone who would change the course of their journey. Linda, a renowned dog trainer who ran a therapeutic program for vulnerable children, found herself drawn to Bella's story. The combination of the dog's gentle nature and evident melancholy stirred something in her professional intuition. Linda's therapeutic ranch, nestled in an isolated area near the mountains, had become a sanctuary where children found healing through their interactions with animals. Each success story from her program reinforced her belief in the profound connection between animals and emotional healing. When she came across Bella's story, she saw potential that others might have missed. The trainer reached out to Emily, explaining her unique program and how she believed Bella might benefit from it. Her proposal was both innovative and thoughtful. She suggested that Bella could not only find healing for herself, but also help children who were dealing with their own emotional challenges. The idea of this dual-purpose rehabilitation intrigued Emily, though she couldn't help but feel hesitant. Emily's concerns weren't unfounded. Bella's profound apathy and her fixation on her past family made her wonder if the dog was ready for such a program. The shelter director had witnessed Bella's daily routine, the long hours spent by the gate, the distant look in her eyes, the way she seemed to withdraw from most interactions. Would introducing her to a new environment, especially one involving children, be too overwhelming? Despite her reservations, Emily recognized the opportunity before them. Linda's reputation in the field was well established, and her ranch's isolated location near the mountains offered a peaceful environment for healing. After careful consideration, Emily decided to give Bella a chance at this new beginning. The journey to Linda's ranch marked Bella's first step away from her vigilant post at the shelter's gate. The mountain landscape that surrounded the facility provided a stark contrast to the urban setting she had known. Here, among the peaceful surroundings and open spaces, Linda hoped to help Bella find her way back to herself. The first days at the ranch revealed subtle changes in Bella's behavior. Though still reserved, she began to show small signs of interest in her new environment. Her interactions with the children, while timid, demonstrated a gentleness that Linda had suspected lay beneath her melancholic exterior. Each small tail wag, each hesitant approach to a child, represented tiny victories in Bella's journey toward healing. Linda's approach was patient and methodical. She incorporated Bella into simple exercises with the children, never pushing too hard, but always encouraging engagement. The dog's natural instincts seemed to emerge gradually, especially when she sensed anxiety or sadness in the children she encountered. It was as if her own experiences with emotional pain had given her a unique ability to connect with others who were hurting. Yet despite these promising developments, Linda couldn't shake the feeling that something was holding Bella back. The dog participated in the activities, followed basic commands, and showed kindness to the children, but there remained a reservation in her behavior, a distance that suggested unresolved trauma. Linda had seen similar patterns before in other animals, but Bella's case seemed particularly complex. As Linda observed Bella's interactions and documented her progress, she began to develop theories about the dog's past. The way Bella responded to certain situations, her careful approach to new relationships, and her moments of withdrawal all pointed to deeper emotional wounds than simple abandonment might cause. There were layers to Bella's story that had yet to be uncovered. The breakthrough came unexpectedly one afternoon during a group session. One of the children, struggling with their own sense of loss, had been particularly withdrawn that day. Bella, who normally maintained a respectful distance, approached the child with unprecedented initiative. The moment of connection between them was brief but profound, suggesting that beneath Bella's reserved exterior lay a capacity for deep, emotional understanding. This interaction confirmed Linda's suspicions. Bella's healing process was intrinsically linked to her ability to help others heal. Yet she couldn't ignore the persistent sadness that seemed to linger in the dog's eyes, especially during quiet moments when she thought no one was watching. It was becoming clear that while the program was helping Bella make progress, there were still pieces of her past that needed to be addressed. As Linda prepared her progress notes that evening, watching the sun set behind the mountain peaks, she couldn't have known that an unexpected letter would soon arrive at the shelter, bringing with it revelations that would shed light on the complexity of Bella's story. The next phase of their journey would require more than just therapeutic techniques. It would demand an understanding of the human dynamics that had led to Bella's current situation. The morning mail delivery at New Horizons shelter usually consisted of bills, donation checks, and the occasional thank you note from happy adopters. But on this particular day, Emily found an unmarked envelope that would unveil the complex layers of Bella's story. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the mysterious letter, sensing its importance. The anonymous writer's words revealed a truth that both explained and complicated Bella's situation. The decision to abandon her, it turned out, hadn't been a family consensus, but rather a unilateral choice made by the father. The letter detailed how the mother and children had opposed the decision, but their protests had fallen on deaf ears. The father's reasoning that a new puppy would help ease the family's grief over their previous dog's loss struck Emily as particularly misguided. As she processed this new information, Emily's mind returned to that day when the family had arrived with their new puppy. The silence of the mother and children, their downcast eyes, and their obvious discomfort suddenly made sense. They hadn't been willing participants in Bella's abandonment, but rather unwilling witnesses to a decision that had torn their family apart. Emily immediately reached out to Linda, sharing this crucial piece of information. For Linda, this revelation provided valuable context for understanding Bella's behavior at the ranch. The dog's reserved nature and persistent melancholy weren't just symptoms of abandonment, they were manifestations of a deeper family trauma that had left its mark on everyone involved. Linda began to dig deeper into the family's history with the shelter. Her investigation revealed a pattern that spoke volumes about their emotional struggles. The family had a history of adopting animals from New Horizons, suggesting a cycle of seeking comfort through pet adoption while struggling to maintain long-term emotional connections. The implications of these discoveries weighed heavily on both women. They realized that Bella's rehabilitation couldn't be separated from the larger story of a family struggling to process their emotions. The father's decision to replace one dog with another, rather than address the underlying grief, had created ripples of pain that affected both humans and animals alike. As Linda continued her work with Bella at the ranch, she began to notice how the dog responded differently to various family dynamics among the children she worked with. Bella seemed particularly attentive to situations where children struggled with feelings of powerlessness or loss of control, emotions that perhaps mirrored those of her former family's children. The therapeutic sessions took on new meaning as Linda incorporated this understanding into her approach. She observed how Bella's own experience with family conflict made her uniquely suited to connect with children from similar situations. The dog's gentle presence offered comfort to young ones struggling to find their voice in difficult family situations. Meanwhile, Emily found herself contemplating the broader implications of the anonymous letter. It wasn't just about exposing the truth behind Bella's abandonment. It was a cry for help from someone within the family who recognized the dysfunction in their handling of emotional challenges. The letter writer's decision to reach out suggested a desire for resolution that extended beyond Bella's situation. The shelter director began reviewing old records, tracking the family's history with New Horizons. Each adoption, each return, told part of a larger story about a family using pets as emotional band-aids rather than addressing their deeper issues. The pattern was clear: moments of loss followed by quick replacements, never allowing time for proper grieving or healing. Linda's professional experience told her that this cycle was not uncommon in families struggling with emotional communication. The father's decision to unilaterally remove Bella and replace her with a puppy was a symptom of a larger inability to process and express difficult emotions within the family unit. As the sun set behind the mountains that evening, casting long shadows across the ranch, Linda watched Bella interact with the children in her program. The dog's cautious approaches, her gentle responses to distress, and her quiet strength spoke of wisdom gained through hardship. Despite her own emotional wounds, or perhaps because of them, Bella had developed an extraordinary capacity for empathy. The revelations from the anonymous letter had opened new avenues for understanding and healing, but they also posed new challenges. Both Linda and Emily knew that helping Bella find true happiness would require more than just finding her a new home. It would mean addressing the complex web of human emotions and family dynamics that had led to her current situation. The community fair organized by New Horizons Shelter brought a festive atmosphere to the otherwise quiet Wyoming town. Colourful banners fluttered in the crisp mountain breeze as Emily and Linda set up their adoption awareness booth, with Bella as one of their featured guests. The golden-furred dog sat quietly beside them, her usual melancholy temporarily lifted by the energy of the gathering crowd. Neither Emily nor Linda could have anticipated the emotional scene that was about to unfold. Among the fairgoers, a young boy's excited shout suddenly cut through the general murmur of the crowd. It was Lucas, Bella's former family's youngest son, who had spotted her from across the fairground. His small figure darted through the crowd, moving with the singular purpose of reaching his beloved former pet. The transformation in Bella was instantaneous and profound. For the first time since her arrival at the shelter, her tail began to wag with genuine enthusiasm. As Lucas threw his arms around her neck in an emotional embrace, Bella's entire demeanor changed. The distant look in her eyes disappeared, replaced by a spark of joy that Emily had never seen before. Lucas's mother appeared moments later, slightly out of breath from chasing after her son. Her face showed a mixture of emotions, joy at seeing Bella again, but also anxiety as she explained to Emily that they had come to the fair without her husband's knowledge. The fear in her voice when she mentioned how he might react spoke volumes about the family's dynamic. The reunion between Lucas and Bella continued to draw attention from nearby fairgoers. The boy couldn't stop talking to the dog, telling her about everything she had missed, while Bella remained pressed against him, drinking in every word. Their connection was palpable, challenging anyone who witnessed it to remain unmoved. Emily watched the scene unfold, her mind racing with possibilities. The genuine love between Lucas and Bella was undeniable, as was the mother's obvious affection for the dog. Yet the situation was complicated by the father's previous decisions and the current family dynamics. Still, seeing this interaction gave Emily an idea that could potentially help both Bella and the family heal. After careful consideration, Emily proposed a trial period where Bella could spend time with the family again. The suggestion brought immediate joy to Lucas's face, but his mother's expression revealed the complexity of their situation. She explained in hushed tones how Max, their new puppy, had already established himself in their home, and how her husband had only reluctantly agreed to even discuss Bella's return. Linda, drawing from her experience as a dog trainer, offered her professional insight. She suggested a structured approach to reintroducing Bella to the family, one that would take into account all family members' needs, including Max's. Her calm, measured approach seemed to ease some of the mother's immediate concerns. Throughout their discussion, Lucas remained by Bella's side, his small hand buried in her golden fur. The bond between them had clearly survived their separation intact. Other fairgoers passed by, some stopping to watch the touching reunion, others continuing on their way, unaware of the profound moment of healing taking place before them. The mother shared more details about their home situation, explaining how Lucas had never stopped talking about Bella, how he kept her photo by his bed, and how he had struggled to connect with Max despite their best efforts. Her voice carried the weight of someone caught between wanting to make her child happy and maintaining peace in her household. As the fair continued around them, Emily, Linda, and Lucas's mother began to formulate a plan. They would need to approach the situation delicately, considering not only Bella's emotional needs, but also the complex family dynamics at play. The father's resistance to Bella's return would need to be handled with sensitivity and understanding. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the fairground as they discussed the details of their plan. Lucas continued to shower Bella with attention, making up for lost time, while the adults worked out the logistics of what would surely be a challenging transition. The joy in both boy and dog was tempered by the knowledge that their reunion's permanence was far from certain. As the fair began to wind down, the reality of their situation became clear. They weren't just dealing with a simple case of reuniting a dog with her family. They were attempting to heal deep emotional wounds that affected every member of the household. The path forward would require patience, understanding, and a willingness to address the underlying issues that had led to Bella's abandonment in the first place. The homecoming that Lucas had dreamed of proved far more complicated than anyone had anticipated. As Bella crossed the threshold of her former home, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Max, the young puppy who had taken her place, immediately tensed at the sight of the newcomer, his usual playful demeanor replaced by uncertain wariness. Lucas's father stood in the corner of the living room, his arms crossed and expression guarded. Though he had reluctantly agreed to this trial period, his body language spoke volumes about his reservations. The decision he had made months ago to abandon Bella now cast a long shadow over this attempted reconciliation. The initial interaction between Bella and Max set the tone for the challenges ahead. While Bella maintained her characteristically gentle demeanor, Max's territorial instincts kicked in. The younger dog circled anxiously, letting out small warning barks that echoed through the house. Each sound made the father's jaw clench tighter, his eyes following every movement between the two dogs. Lucas, caught between his love for Bella and his developing relationship with Max, tried desperately to mediate between them. His innocent attempts to share his attention equally between both dogs only seemed to heighten the tension. Max's possessive behavior increased whenever Lucas showed affection to Bella, while Bella retreated into herself, the familiar sadness returning to her eyes. The situation reached a critical point when the father began openly reconsidering his agreement to the trial period. His threats to return Bella to the shelter sent Lucas into a state of emotional distress. In response, the young boy did something unexpected. He retreated to his room and emerged with a handwritten letter for his father. The letter, written in Lucas's childish scrawl, contained a heartfelt plea that caught everyone off guard. He had poured out his feelings about losing Bella, his struggles to understand why she had to leave, and his desperate wish for their family to be whole again. The raw honesty of his words touched something in his father's heart. Though the conflict between the dogs remained a significant obstacle, the mother watched all of this unfold with growing concern. She saw how the tension affected not just the dogs, but every member of their family. The stress of maintaining peace between Bella and Max was taking its toll on everyone, creating an atmosphere that seemed to grow heavier with each passing day. Linda, upon hearing about the mounting tensions, proposed bringing both dogs to her ranch for structured adaptation sessions. Her suggestion offered a glimpse of hope in what had become an increasingly difficult situation. The neutral territory of the ranch, combined with Linda's expertise, might provide the breakthrough they all desperately needed. The father's initial resistance to this proposal gradually softened as he witnessed his son's continued distress. The emotional weight of Lucas's letter had forced him to confront the impact of his past decisions. Though still skeptical, he agreed to give Linda's suggestion a chance, if only to prove he was willing to try for his son's sake. Throughout these challenging days, Bella maintained a quiet dignity that struck everyone who observed her. Despite Max's territorial displays and the palpable tension in the household, she never showed aggression. Instead, her responses were measured and gentle, though the sadness in her eyes deepened with each difficult encounter. The stress of the situation manifested in different ways for each family member. Lucas's enthusiasm began to be tempered by anxiety as he tried to divide his attention fairly between both dogs. His mother found herself constantly mediating not just between the dogs, but between her husband's growing frustration and her son's emotional needs. As evening fell on another tense day, the family gathered in their living room, the atmosphere heavy with unspoken words. Max had retreated to his bed in one corner, while Bella sat quietly near Lucas, both dogs maintaining a wary distance from each other. The father's occasional sighs and pointed glances made it clear that something would have to change. Their current situation wasn't sustainable. The decision to accept Linda's offer of help at the ranch came not a moment too soon. The family had reached a crossroads where they needed to either find a way forward together or accept that their attempt at reunification had failed. As they prepared for their first session at the ranch, none of them could have predicted the extraordinary events that were about to unfold. Events that would challenge their assumptions and transform their understanding of both dogs. Linda's ranch emerged as a sanctuary of hope, its wide-open spaces offering a fresh start for both dogs. The structured adaptation sessions began with carefully supervised interactions between Bella and Max, with Linda's expert guidance helping to establish new patterns of behavior. The change of environment seemed to ease some of the tension that had built up in the family home. No one could have predicted how a sudden Wyoming snowstorm would become the catalyst for transformation. The weather forecast had given little warning of the severity of the approaching storm, which quickly isolated the ranch with thick blankets of snow. The family, along with Linda and both dogs, found themselves forced to wait out the tempest together. As the storm intensified, Max's usually confident demeanor began to waver. The howling wind and the unfamiliar surroundings clearly unsettled the young dog. It was during this moment of vulnerability that Bella's true nature emerged in an unexpected way. Rather than maintaining her usual distance, she moved closer to the frightened puppy, her presence offering a calm reassurance that surprised everyone. The defining moment came when Max, spooked by a particularly strong gust of wind, bolted from the main building. In the swirling snow, the puppy quickly became disoriented. Without hesitation, Bella sprang into action, her golden fur barely visible through the white curtain of snow as she followed Max's trail. Her protective instincts, dormant for so long, suddenly awakened with powerful clarity. Linda and the family watched in amazement as Bella efficiently tracked Max through the storm. Her experience and natural instincts guided her to where the frightened puppy had taken shelter behind some ranch equipment. Instead of competing with or dismissing Max, as she had seemed to do at home, Bella positioned herself as a protective guardian, using her body to shield the younger dog from the biting wind. The scene that unfolded touched everyone who witnessed it. Bella gently guided Max back to safety, staying close to the puppy and offering reassurance through her calm presence. The territorial tensions that had marked their previous interactions seemed to dissolve in the face of this shared experience. Max, for his part, began to respond to Bella with a new kind of respect, following her lead with growing trust. As the storm continued to rage outside, the family observed a profound shift in the dynamics between the two dogs. Max no longer displayed his previous possessive behavior, instead looking to Bella for cues and comfort. Bella, in turn, seemed to embrace a mentoring role, her past melancholy giving way to a sense of purpose as she watched over her younger companion. The father, who had maintained his skepticism throughout the adaptation sessions, found himself deeply moved by Bella's actions. Watching her selfless protection of Max forced him to confront his own misconceptions about both dogs. The gentle wisdom she displayed in handling the situation struck a chord that began to soften his resistance. Lucas observed these changes with quiet joy, his initial dream of having both dogs in harmony finally seeming possible. His mother noticed how the tension in his small shoulders began to ease as he watched Bella and Max settle into their new dynamic. Even Linda, with all her experience, remarked on the extraordinary nature of their transformation. The snowstorm that had isolated them became an unexpected blessing, forcing them to witness and participate in this turning point. The ranch's confined spaces during the storm created opportunities for new patterns of interaction, not just between the dogs, but among all family members. The shared experience of weathering the storm together seemed to break down barriers that had existed since Bella's initial abandonment. As the hours passed and the storm showed no signs of abating, the group found themselves sharing stories and observations about both dogs. The father, perhaps for the first time, spoke openly about his motivations for bringing Max home, revealing layers of grief and misunderstanding that had driven his decisions. His words, though difficult to express, began to bridge the emotional gap that had grown within the family. Within the shelter of the ranch buildings, surrounded by the muffled sounds of the storm outside, a new kind of healing began to take place. The boundaries between past and present, between old wounds and new beginnings, started to blur and reshape themselves. Bella's protective action toward Max had not just changed the relationship between the dogs, it had opened a door for the entire family to begin addressing their deeper emotional struggles. As the ranch sessions continued to yield positive results, Linda received another anonymous letter that would add a crucial piece to the puzzle of Bella's story. This second message, more detailed than the first, revealed a pattern that stretched back further than anyone had realized. The family's previous dog, whose loss had triggered the chain of events leading to Bella's abandonment, had also been a rescue from New Horizons shelter. The letter painted a picture of a family caught in a cycle of emotional dependency on their pets. Each adoption from the shelter seemed to be an attempt to fill an emotional void, creating a pattern that spoke of deeper, unresolved issues. The anonymous writer detailed how the family's inability to process grief had led them to seek quick replacements rather than face their feelings of loss. Linda shared this new information with Emily, and together they began to see the full scope of the situation. The shelter's records confirmed what the letter had suggested. There was indeed a history of adoptions by this family, each following a similar pattern. The discovery shed new light on the father's decision to replace Bella with Max, revealing it as part of a larger cycle of emotional avoidance. For Linda, this revelation brought a new dimension to her therapeutic approach. She recognized that the family's pattern of using pets to cope with loss without properly addressing their grief was a crucial element that needed to be addressed. The success they had witnessed during the snowstorm with Bella and Max wasn't just about the dogs. It was an opportunity to break this cycle of emotional substitution. The implications of this discovery reached beyond just understanding the family's past behavior. It highlighted how their current situation with Bella and Max wasn't simply about integrating two dogs. It was about helping the family develop healthier ways of dealing with their emotions. The protective bond that had formed between Bella and Max during the storm offered a model for the kind of emotional healing the family needed. Emily's perspective on the situation deepened as well. The shelter director now understood that her role extended beyond just finding homes for animals. She was witnessing how unresolved human emotions could impact the lives of the pets in her care. The family's pattern of adoption and loss reflected a broader issue she had seen in other cases, though perhaps never quite so clearly. Linda began to incorporate this understanding into her sessions at the ranch. She observed how the family's interaction with both dogs often mirrored their own emotional patterns. The father's initial resistance to Bella's return, his quick solution of replacing her with Max, and his current struggle to accept their new dynamic, all pointed to deeper emotional wounds that needed healing. The sessions took on new meaning as Linda guided the family through activities that encouraged emotional expression and connection. She noticed how Bella's presence often helped facilitate these moments, particularly when family members struggled to voice difficult feelings. The dog's innate empathy, which had first shown itself with the children in her therapeutic program, now served as a bridge for family healing. As this new understanding settled over the ranch, the dynamics between humans and animals continued to evolve. The father, confronted with evidence of his pattern of emotional avoidance, began to show signs of openness to change. Lucas, sensing the shift in his father's attitude, grew more confident in expressing his own feelings about both dogs. The mother, who had long carried the weight of understanding these dynamics without being able to address them directly, found relief in having these patterns acknowledged. Her quiet support of both dogs throughout their adjustment period took on new significance as she recognized her own role in the family's emotional journey. Throughout all of this, Bella maintained her newly discovered balance between protecting Max and allowing him to grow. Their relationship had evolved into something that transcended the initial territorial conflicts, becoming a living example of how past wounds could transform into sources of strength and connection. The revelation from the second anonymous letter had done more than just expose the family's history with the shelter. It had provided a framework for understanding how their past choices had led them to this moment. As Linda and Emily discussed their next steps, they realized that helping this family heal would require addressing not just the present situation with Bella and Max, but the deeper patterns that had shaped their relationships with all their pets. The regular sessions at Linda's ranch became a cornerstone of healing for both the family and their dogs. Each visit brought new revelations as Linda carefully structured activities that addressed not just the animal's behavior, but the underlying emotional patterns that had brought them to this point. The mountain backdrop provided a serene setting for the deep work that lay ahead. The father's participation in these sessions marked a significant shift. Initially reserved and defensive, he began to open up about his own struggles with loss. During one particularly powerful session, he admitted how the loss of their previous dog had affected him more deeply than he'd been willing to acknowledge. The quick decision to replace Bella with Max had been his way of avoiding the pain, a pattern he was only now beginning to recognize. Linda's expertise in both animal behavior and emotional healing proved invaluable. She created exercises that allowed the family to work through their feelings while strengthening their bonds with both dogs. Watching Bella and Max's evolving relationship served as a mirror for their own journey toward healing. The older dog's protective nature toward Max demonstrated a capacity for love that transcended past hurts. Lucas, who had always maintained his emotional connection to Bella, flourished in this new environment. His natural ability to love both dogs without reservation became an example for the rest of the family. The young boy's unconditional acceptance helped bridge the gap between past and present, showing how it was possible to honor old bonds while creating new ones. The mother found herself able to express feelings she had long kept hidden. During group sessions, she shared her pain at watching Bella's abandonment and her fear of challenging her husband's decisions. The safe space of the ranch allowed these difficult conversations to unfold naturally, with both dogs often providing comfort through their presence. As the sessions progressed, Linda observed how Bella's role in the family began to evolve. No longer just a symbol of loss and regret, she emerged as a catalyst for healing. Her gentle guidance of Max demonstrated emotional intelligence that helped the family understand their own patterns of behavior. The younger dog, in turn, brought an energy and playfulness that helped lighten even the most difficult moments. The breakthrough came during a family session when they finally addressed the cycle of adoption and loss that had been revealed in the anonymous letters. Together, they examined how their pattern of using pets to fill emotional voids had affected not only the animals, but their relationships with each other. This recognition marked a turning point in their healing journey. Linda introduced exercises that helped them develop healthier ways of processing emotions. She showed them how to recognize signs of avoidance and taught them techniques for staying present with difficult feelings rather than seeking quick solutions. The dogs participated in these sessions, with Bella's calm presence often helping to ground them during challenging moments. The father's relationship with both dogs underwent a particularly profound transformation. Watching Bella's patient mentorship of Max helped him understand the depth of his own emotional avoidance. He began to see how his quick decision to replace one dog with another had been a reflection of his inability to face loss, a pattern that extended beyond just their pets. The ranch sessions also provided opportunities for joy and play, essential components of emotional healing. Linda created activities that allowed the family to experience the simple pleasure of being together with their dogs without the weight of past decisions hanging over them. These lighter moments helped balance the deeper emotional work they were undertaking. As weeks turned into months, the changes in the family dynamic became increasingly evident. The tension that had once filled their home gave way to a more open and honest atmosphere. They learned to communicate about difficult feelings without fear of judgment, using the examples of Bella and Max's relationship as a guide for their own growth. The mother noticed how these changes extended beyond their time at the ranch. At home, family discussions that once would have been avoided now took place with greater ease. The presence of both dogs in their daily lives served as a constant reminder of the progress they had made and the importance of maintaining their new emotional awareness. Throughout this transformation, Linda maintained careful documentation of their progress, noting how the family's healing journey paralleled the strengthening bond between Bella and Max. What had begun as a crisis of competing loyalties had evolved into a profound lesson in the capacity for growth and change when facing emotional challenges honestly and together. The transformation within the family began to manifest in unexpected ways as they continued their regular visits to Linda's ranch. The safe space created during these sessions encouraged them to address conflicts that had long simmered beneath the surface. The presence of both dogs, with their newfound harmony, served as a constant reminder of what was possible when barriers were broken down. Linda observed how the family's method of dealing with conflict had started to shift dramatically. Instead of the tense silence that once characterized their disagreements, they began to express their feelings more openly. The father, who had previously made unilateral decisions about the family's pets, now sought input from everyone before making choices that affected the household. The impact of this new approach was particularly evident in their interactions with Bella and Max. The dogs, sensing the changing emotional climate, responded with increasing confidence and trust. Bella's protective nature toward Max evolved into a deeper bond that reflected the family's own journey toward emotional honesty. The younger dog, in turn, showed remarkable growth under Bella's guidance, his previous territorial behavior replaced by a more balanced temperament. During one significant session, Lucas shared a memory box he had kept hidden in his room. Inside were photos of Bella from before her abandonment, along with small tokens that reminded him of their time together. Rather than causing pain, this revelation led to a family discussion about the importance of acknowledging and honoring their emotional attachments instead of trying to replace them. The mother found her voice growing stronger in these conversations. She began to express her own needs and concerns more clearly, supported by Linda's gentle guidance. Her relationship with both dogs flourished, as she no longer felt caught between her husband's decisions and her children's emotions. This newfound confidence rippled through all her relationships, creating a more balanced family dynamic. Linda introduced exercises that helped the family recognize patterns in their emotional responses. Using the dogs' interactions as examples, she showed them how Bella and Max had learned to communicate their needs and boundaries effectively. The family began to apply these lessons to their own interactions, learning to express discomfort or disagreement without fear of damaging their relationships. The father's transformation was perhaps the most profound. Through working with both dogs, he began to understand how his fear of emotional pain had led him to make decisions that affected everyone around him. Watching Bella's patient mentorship of Max helped him see the value of facing challenges together rather than seeking quick solutions to emotional discomfort. As the family learned to communicate more openly, their home environment underwent a noticeable shift. The tense atmosphere that had once surrounded interactions with the dogs gave way to a more relaxed and natural flow. Both Bella and Max seemed to thrive in this new emotional climate, their own relationship deepening as they picked up on the family's more honest and direct communication style. Linda noticed how the family began to use their experiences with the dogs as a way to discuss deeper emotional issues. When conflicts arose, they would often reference how Bella and Max had learned to work through their differences. This parallel between human and animal behavior provided a safe way to explore sensitive topics and find constructive solutions. The children's response to this new family dynamic was especially heartening. Lucas, who had carried so much emotional weight during Bella's absence, began to show a lighter, more carefree side. His interaction with both dogs became more balanced, and he no longer felt the need to choose between them or protect one from the other. During group sessions, Linda encouraged the family to share their fears and hopes openly. These conversations revealed how deeply the pattern of emotional avoidance had affected their relationships, not just with their pets, but with each other. As they learned to acknowledge and work through these patterns, their bonds with both dogs and each other grew stronger. The mother's observation skills, honed through months of watching both dogs interact, helped her identify when family members were struggling with unexpressed emotions. She became adept at creating space for difficult conversations, using the calm and accepting atmosphere they had learned to cultivate at the ranch as a model for their home life. This new chapter in their journey revealed how the healing of their relationships with Bella and Max was inextricably linked to their own emotional growth. The dogs had become not just beloved pets, but teachers, showing them daily how to navigate complex emotions with grace and authenticity. The evolution of Bella's role within the family took on new significance as their healing journey deepened. Once seen as a reminder of past mistakes, she had become a living bridge between their old patterns and new understanding. Her presence in their lives now represented something far more profound than just being a beloved pet. She had become a catalyst for their emotional transformation. During their continued sessions at the ranch, Linda noticed how Bella seemed to instinctively understand what each family member needed. When the father struggled with expressing vulnerability, Bella would quietly rest her head on his knee, offering silent support that made difficult conversations easier. Her gentle presence helped him navigate the uncomfortable territory of acknowledging his past decisions and their impact on the family. The relationship between Bella and Max continued to evolve in ways that mirrored the family's own growth. Their initial tension had transformed into a partnership that demonstrated the possibility of moving beyond past hurts. The older dog's patient guidance of the younger one provided a daily reminder of how love and understanding could overcome previous conflicts. The mother found herself drawing strength from watching Bella's interaction with both Max and the family. The dog's ability to forgive and move forward, despite her earlier abandonment, offered a powerful lesson in resilience. During particularly challenging moments, When old patterns threatened to resurface, the mother would recall Bella's transformation from a defeated shelter dog to a confident and nurturing presence. Lucas, who had never lost faith in Bella, began to show remarkable emotional maturity in his interactions with both dogs. His natural ability to love them both without reservation became a model for the rest of the family. Through his eyes, they could see how it was possible to honor past attachments while embracing new connections. Linda incorporated these observations into their therapy sessions, using the dog's evolving relationship as a metaphor for healthy emotional growth. She helped the family recognize how Bella's journey from abandonment to healing paralleled their own path toward emotional honesty. The dog's ability to overcome her past trauma while helping Max adjust offered hope for their own transformation. The father's relationship with Bella underwent perhaps the most dramatic change. The guilt he had carried over his decision to abandon her gradually transformed into deep respect for her capacity to forgive and adapt. Watching her mentor Max helped him understand the difference between avoiding emotional pain and working through it constructively. During one particularly meaningful session, the family worked together to create a timeline of their journey with both dogs. As they mapped out the events that had led them to this point, they could see how Bella had been instrumental in exposing patterns they needed to address. Her consistent presence, even in times of uncertainty, had helped them face truths they might otherwise have avoided. The mother noticed how family discussions had become more open and honest since Bella's return. The dog's calm demeanor during emotional moments seemed to create a safe space for difficult conversations. Even when tensions arose, Bella's steady presence helped them maintain perspective and find constructive ways forward. Linda observed how the family began to use their observations of Bella's behavior as a tool for understanding their own emotional responses. When someone felt overwhelmed or defensive, they would often reference how Bella had handled similar challenges with patience and grace. Her example helped them develop more constructive ways of dealing with stress and conflict. The impact of these changes extended beyond their immediate family circle. Visitors to their home often remarked on the special dynamic between the two dogs and the peaceful atmosphere that now characterized their household. Bella's story, once a source of shame, had become a testimony to the possibility of healing and growth. Through their regular sessions at the ranch, the family learned to appreciate how Bella's journey had paralleled their own. Her transformation from a traumatized shelter dog to a confident and nurturing presence reflected their own growth from emotional avoidance to honest engagement with their feelings. As they continued to work through their issues together, Bella remained a constant source of inspiration and support. Her ability to balance nurturing Max while maintaining her own identity showed them how to honor both past and present connections without sacrificing either. She had become not just a beloved pet, but a teacher in their ongoing journey toward emotional wholeness. The transformation that had begun at Linda's ranch continued to deepen as the family integrated their newfound understanding into their daily lives. Their home, once filled with unspoken tensions, had become a space where emotions could be expressed freely and honestly. Both Bella and Max had settled into their roles, their relationship serving as a constant reminder of how far they had all come. The father's evolution became particularly evident in his morning routine. Where he had once rushed through breakfast and hurried to work, he now took time to sit with both dogs, observing their interactions and often sharing his thoughts with his family. These quiet moments, previously unimaginable, had become sacred time for connection and reflection. Linda's continued guidance helped them recognize the significance of these small changes. During their sessions, she emphasized how the natural bond between Bella and Max demonstrated the possibility of healing without erasing the past. The older dog's gentle leadership and the younger one's eager response showed how new relationships could flourish alongside older connections. The mother found herself becoming more attuned to the emotional undercurrents in their household. She noticed how Bella would often position herself near family members who were struggling with difficult feelings, while Max's playful energy helped lighten tense moments. This dance between the two dogs became a model for how the family could support each other through challenges. Lucas, who had once feared losing Bella again, now moved confidently between both dogs, his relationship with each one distinct but equally valuable. His natural ability to love without reservation had helped the entire family understand that new attachments didn't diminish old ones. They could instead enrich each other. The family's shared experiences at the ranch had given them tools for handling conflict in healthier ways. When disagreements arose, they found themselves naturally turning to the examples set by their dogs. Bella's patient acceptance and Max's willingness to learn became references for how they could approach their own differences with grace and understanding. During one particular session, Linda introduced an exercise that highlighted how far they had come. She asked each family member to describe how their relationship with both dogs had changed over time. Their responses revealed not just growing appreciation for the animals, but deeper insight into their own emotional growth. The father spoke of how watching Bella mentor Max had helped him understand the difference between protection and control. His previous attempts to shield the family from emotional pain by making unilateral decisions had actually created more hurt. Now, inspired by Bella's approach to guiding Max, he had learned to support without trying to control outcomes. The mother shared how the presence of both dogs had helped her find her voice within the family. Seeing how Bella and Max communicated their needs clearly and respectfully had encouraged her to do the same. The balanced relationship between the dogs showed her that harmony didn't require sacrifice of individual needs. Linda observed how the family's language had evolved to include references to both dogs' behaviors when discussing emotional challenges. They would often say things like, "Let's handle this like Bella would," or "Remember how Max learned to trust," using these examples to navigate difficult conversations. The changes in their home environment reflected this deeper understanding. Spaces that had once been contested territory between the dogs now flowed naturally with their shared presence. The family had learned to create room for everyone's needs, just as Bella and Max had learned to share their physical and emotional space. Even their broader community began to notice the change in the family dynamic. Friends and neighbors commented on the peaceful atmosphere in their home and the remarkable relationship between their dogs. What had once been a source of tension had become an inspiration for others facing similar challenges. As winter gave way to spring in Wyoming, the family's healing journey continued to unfold. The lessons learned through their relationship with Bella and Max had become woven into the fabric of their daily lives, creating a new pattern of emotional honesty and mutual support that strengthened with each passing day. The regular visits to Linda's ranch had evolved into something more than just therapy sessions. They had become a celebration of how far the family had come. Each visit reinforced the profound changes in their relationships, both with each other and with their dogs. The mountain backdrop that had witnessed their early struggles now served as a reminder of their journey toward healing. Linda had begun incorporating new elements into their sessions, designed to strengthen the bonds that had formed. She noticed how the family naturally fell into a rhythm with both dogs, their interactions flowing with an ease that would have seemed impossible months ago. Bella and Max's relationship had become a model for the kind of emotional balance they were all learning to achieve. The father's transformation continued to surprise everyone, including himself. During one session, he opened up about how his previous pattern of replacing one dog with another had been a reflection of his own inability to face emotional pain. Watching Bella's patient mentorship of Max had shown him a different way to handle difficult feelings, one that acknowledged past hurts while remaining open to new connections. Lucas, who had once been trapped between his love for Bella and the presence of Max, now moved freely between both dogs, with a confidence that inspired the rest of the family. His natural ability to maintain distinct but equally meaningful relationships with each dog demonstrated how love could expand without diminishing existing bonds. The mother found herself becoming more assertive in family discussions, drawing strength from the example set by both dogs. She observed how Bella and Max communicated their needs clearly, while remaining respectful of each other's boundaries. This balance between self-expression and consideration for others had become a model for healthy family communication. Linda's documentation of their progress revealed patterns that even she found remarkable. The family's ability to work through conflicts had improved significantly, with each member showing greater emotional awareness and willingness to engage in difficult conversations. They had learned to use their observations of the dog's behavior as a guide for their own interactions. During their sessions, the family often reflected on how their understanding of love and loyalty had evolved. They could now see how their previous attempts to avoid pain by quickly replacing one pet with another had prevented them from developing deeper, more meaningful connections. Bella and Max's relationship showed them that true healing required patience, understanding, and the courage to remain present through challenges. The changes in their home environment reflected this deeper understanding. Spaces that had once been sources of tension between the dogs now flowed with their harmonious presence. The family had learned to create room for everyone's needs, just as Bella and Max had learned to share both physical and emotional territory. Linda noticed how the family's language had evolved to include more nuanced expressions of emotion. They could now discuss difficult feelings without fear of judgment, often using examples from their observations of the dogs to illustrate their points. Phrases like Bella's patience or Max's trust had become shorthand for complex emotional concepts they were learning to navigate. The impact of these changes extended beyond their immediate family circle. Friends and neighbors often remarked on the special dynamic they witnessed between both the humans and dogs in the household. What had once been a story of abandonment and replacement had transformed into an inspiring example of healing and growth. As they continued their work with Linda, the family began to recognize how their journey with Bella and Max had opened new possibilities for emotional connection. They had learned that healing didn't mean forgetting the past, but rather integrating it into a more complete understanding of themselves and their relationships. The ranch sessions now included moments of pure joy, alongside the deeper emotional work. The family found themselves laughing together more frequently, sharing observations about both dogs' personalities and celebrating small victories in their ongoing journey. These lighter moments were just as important as the serious discussions in building their new family dynamic. Linda observed how this balance between joy and meaningful work mirrored the relationship between Bella and Max. The older dog's wisdom and the younger one's playful energy had created a perfect complement, showing the family how different emotional qualities could work together to create something stronger and more beautiful than either could achieve alone. Through continued sessions at the ranch, the family's healing journey revealed new layers of understanding. Linda watched as they began to recognize how their pattern of adopting and replacing pets had been symptomatic of deeper emotional struggles. The discovery from the anonymous letters about their history with New Horizons shelter had opened important conversations about how they handled loss and attachment. The father, who had initiated this pattern of emotional avoidance, found himself examining his past decisions with new clarity. During one particularly moving session, he shared how the loss of their first shelter dog had affected him so deeply that he'd developed a fear of facing similar pain again. His quick decision to replace Bella with Max had been an unconscious attempt to outrun these feelings of loss. Linda's therapeutic approach now focused on helping the family understand the connection between their past experiences and present relationships. She observed how their interactions with both Bella and Max had become more mindful, reflecting a deeper appreciation for each dog's unique role in their lives. The pets were no longer seen as interchangeable sources of comfort, but as distinct individuals with their own emotional needs and contributions to the family. The mother's growing confidence in expressing her feelings had a ripple effect on the entire household. She began to share how difficult it had been to watch the cycle of adoption and loss, knowing the emotional toll it took on everyone, especially the children. Her ability to voice these concerns openly marked a significant shift from the silent acquiescence that had characterized her past behavior. Lucas's relationship with both dogs continued to evolve in ways that demonstrated emotional maturity beyond his years. He showed remarkable insight when explaining to visitors how Bella and Max were different but equally important to him. His natural ability to maintain these distinct bonds without feeling conflicted became an example for the rest of the family. Linda introduced exercises that helped the family explore their history with pets in a deeper way. Through these activities, they began to see how each adoption had been an attempt to fill an emotional void rather than a thoughtful decision to expand their family. This recognition helped them approach their current relationship with Bella and Max with greater awareness and intentionality. The impact of their previous dog's loss, which had set this whole story in motion, was finally addressed openly. Rather than trying to suppress these memories, the family learned to honor them while making space for new connections. Bella's presence served as a living reminder that past attachments could coexist with present ones. During their sessions, Linda noticed how the family's understanding of grief had evolved. They no longer viewed it as something to be avoided or quickly replaced, but as a natural part of loving deeply. This shift in perspective allowed them to appreciate their current relationships with both dogs more fully, knowing that each moment was precious. The mother observed how this new awareness had changed their daily interactions. Simple moments, like watching Bella and Max play together or seeing them curl up for an afternoon nap, took on deeper meaning. These scenes represented not just the dog's bond with each other, but the family's growth in understanding how to nurture healthy attachments. Linda documented how the family's language around loss and connection had shifted. They spoke more openly about their feelings, using their experiences with both dogs to explore complex emotional concepts. The father, in particular, had developed a new vocabulary for expressing his fears and hopes, moving away from his previous pattern of emotional avoidance. The ranch sessions became a space where the family could examine their history with shelter adoptions without judgment. They began to understand how each pet had played a role in their emotional journey, leading them to this moment of greater awareness and healing. Bella and Max's presence in their lives now represented not just current joy, but also the possibility of breaking old patterns. Through their work with Linda, the family learned to recognize signs of their old coping mechanisms trying to resurface. Instead of falling back into patterns of avoidance, they developed new ways of supporting each other through difficult emotions. The dog's steady presence provided constant reinforcement of these healthier approaches to handling emotional challenges. The transformation in their understanding of pet adoption was profound. What had once been a series of attempts to fill emotional voids had become a thoughtful commitment to providing a loving home while maintaining emotional honesty. This shift reflected their broader growth in handling feelings of attachment and loss. The family's daily life had transformed into a living laboratory of emotional growth, with Bella and Max as their constant teachers. The lessons learned at Linda's ranch were now being applied in countless small moments throughout their days, creating a new normal that would have seemed impossible months ago. The morning routine, once rushed and fragmented, had evolved into a time of connection. The father, who previously hurried through breakfast lost in his own thoughts, now took time to observe both dogs during their morning interactions. He noticed how Bella would patiently wait for Max to finish his breakfast before starting her own, a small act of consideration that reminded him of the importance of putting others first at times. The mother found herself implementing the communication strategies they'd learned through watching the dogs. Just as Bella and Max had clear ways of signaling their needs to each other, she encouraged family members to express themselves openly and directly. The household dynamics shifted as everyone became more adept at reading each other's emotional cues, much like the intuitive understanding that had developed between their pets. Lucas's role in the family had also evolved. His natural ability to love both dogs equally had made him an unexpected expert in emotional balance. Other family members often looked to him for guidance in situations where old patterns threatened to resurface. His straightforward acceptance of both Bella and Max's unique qualities helped everyone remember that love didn't need to be competitive or conditional. Linda's influence remained strong even between ranch visits. The family had learned to use their observations of the dog's behavior as a reference point for handling challenging situations. When tensions arose, someone would often point out how Bella and Max might handle a similar conflict, bringing a lighter perspective to serious moments. The father's greatest transformation showed in his decision-making process. Instead of making unilateral choices as he had done in the past, he now consulted with everyone, including observing how his decisions might affect both dogs. This new approach to family leadership reflected the balanced relationship he had witnessed between Bella and Max. Everyday moments became opportunities for practicing their new emotional awareness. When Max showed anxiety during thunderstorms, they noticed how Bella would naturally move closer to him, offering silent support. The family learned to mirror this behavior, providing quiet presence for each other during difficult times, rather than rushing to fix or avoid uncomfortable feelings. The mother's growing confidence manifested in her ability to maintain boundaries while staying connected. She had learned from watching Bella, who managed to guide Max without dominating him. This balance of strength and gentleness became a model for her own leadership within the family, especially during challenging moments. Their home environment reflected these changes in subtle but significant ways. Spaces that had once been designated as separate territories, for each dog now flowed naturally between them. The family had learned to create an atmosphere where individual needs could be met while maintaining a sense of shared connection, much like the harmony they witnessed between Bella and Max. Linda's therapeutic insights continued to guide their progress. During their regular check-ins, she helped them recognize how their new patterns of interaction were creating a more stable emotional foundation for everyone, including the dogs. The family's ability to maintain these changes, even during stressful times, showed how deeply their transformation had taken root. The impact of their journey extended beyond their immediate family circle. Visitors often commented on the peaceful atmosphere in their home, particularly noting the special dynamic between Bella and Max. What had once been a source of tension and sadness had become an inspiration for others facing similar challenges. Their experience had taught them that healing wasn't just about resolving past hurts. It was about creating new patterns that prevented those hurts from repeating. Through their relationship with both dogs, they had learned that love could expand without diminishing, that new connections could strengthen rather than threaten existing ones. Each day brought new opportunities to practice these lessons, whether in small moments of consideration or larger family decisions. The presence of both dogs served as a constant reminder of how far they had come and the importance of maintaining their emotional awareness and honest communication. The transformation that had begun at Linda's ranch had now become deeply woven into the fabric of their daily lives. What started as conscious efforts to change their patterns had evolved into natural responses, with both dogs continuing to play pivotal roles in their ongoing emotional development. During one particularly meaningful evening, the family gathered in their living room, Bella and Max comfortably settled among them. The father noticed how naturally they had all found their places, no longer governed by the tensions and unspoken rules that had once dictated their interactions. Bella's protective presence near Max while maintaining her own space demonstrated the delicate balance they had all learned to achieve. The mother's observations of both dogs had given her new insights into family dynamics. She watched how Bella would gently guide Max when he became too excitable, never through force, but through calm example. This approach had become a model for her own parenting, helping her find ways to guide her family while respecting each member's individual journey. Linda's continued guidance helped them recognize the significance of these small but powerful changes. During their sessions, she encouraged them to share examples of how their new understanding manifested in daily life. The family's stories often centered around moments where they had consciously chosen different responses to challenging situations, inspired by the harmony they witnessed between their dogs. Lucas had developed an impressive emotional vocabulary, often serving as the family's bridge between their past and present ways of relating. His natural ability to express love for both dogs without comparison had expanded to other areas of his life, showing his parents how unconditional acceptance could transform relationships. The father's growth was particularly evident in how he handled family decisions. Rather than rushing to solutions, he had learned to pause and observe, much like Bella's patient approach to guiding Max. This new thoughtfulness had created space for everyone's voice to be heard, strengthening their family bonds in unexpected ways. Their home had become a place where emotions could be expressed safely and honestly. The presence of both dogs served as a constant reminder of how far they had come from the days when unspoken tensions ruled their interactions. Bella and Max's relationship continued to evolve, showing them daily how past hurts could transform into sources of wisdom and connection. Each family member had developed their own special connection with both dogs while maintaining respect for the unique bonds others had formed. They had learned that love didn't need to be exclusive or competitive. It could expand and adapt while remaining genuine and deep. This understanding had profound effects on all their relationships, extending beyond their immediate family circle. The mother noticed how their communication patterns had shifted. Just as Bella and Max had clear ways of expressing their needs and boundaries, the family had developed a more direct and honest way of sharing their thoughts and feelings. The old pattern of avoiding difficult emotions had been replaced by a willingness to face challenges together. Linda's ranch sessions now focused more on reinforcing and deepening their progress rather than addressing crisis points. She observed how the family naturally incorporated lessons from their experience with both dogs into their discussions about emotional challenges. Their growth had become self-sustaining, with each success building confidence for facing future obstacles. The impact of their journey reached beyond their own healing. Friends and neighbors often commented on the remarkable change in their household's atmosphere. The story of Bella and Max had become an inspiration for others struggling with similar challenges, showing how patience and understanding could transform even the most difficult situations. Their experience had taught them that true healing wasn't about erasing the past, but about learning from it. Through their relationship with both dogs, they had discovered how to honor old connections while remaining open to new ones. This balance had become the foundation of their family's emotional well-being. The family's evolution continued to unfold in countless small moments, in the way they supported each other through difficulties, in their celebration of each other's successes, and in their growing ability to maintain emotional harmony even during challenging times. Bella and Max remained at the heart of this transformation, their presence a daily reminder of the power of love and understanding to heal deep wounds. The journey that had begun with Bella's abandonment at New Horizons shelter had transformed into something far more profound than anyone could have anticipated. As Emily and Linda reflected on the family's progress during one of their regular consultations, they marveled at how a story that started with loss and separation had blossomed into a testament of healing and reconnection. The revelation about the family's history with the shelter had become not just a piece of their past, but a catalyst for deeper understanding. Their pattern of adopting animals as a way to cope with emotional pain had been replaced by a more mature approach to handling grief and attachment. The presence of both Bella and Max in their lives now represented not an attempt to fill a void, but a conscious choice to expand their capacity for love. Linda observed how the family's participation in the therapeutic program had evolved. They no longer needed crisis intervention or intensive guidance. Instead, their sessions had become opportunities to share insights and celebrate continued growth. The dog's relationship served as a living example of their success. Bella's patient mentorship of Max, reflecting the family's own journey toward emotional maturity. The father's transformation was perhaps the most remarkable. The man who had once made unilateral decisions about abandoning Bella now approached family matters with thoughtful consideration of everyone's feelings. His relationship with both dogs demonstrated a new understanding of how love could grow without requiring the sacrifice of previous attachments. During their sessions at the ranch, the mother often shared how their home environment had changed. The tension that had once permeated their household had been replaced by an atmosphere of open communication and mutual support. She noted how both dogs seemed to thrive in this new emotional climate, their behavior reflecting the stability they now felt within the family unit. Lucas continued to demonstrate wisdom beyond his years in his interactions with both dogs. His ability to maintain distinct but equally loving relationships with Bella and Max had shown the entire family how to balance multiple emotional connections without diminishing any of them. His example had helped them all develop more nuanced understanding of love and loyalty. The family's experience had begun to influence others in their community. Their story of healing and reconciliation, particularly the role that Bella and Max played in their transformation, offered hope to others facing similar challenges. Linda found herself frequently referring to their journey when working with new families struggling with emotional conflicts. Emily, watching from her position at the shelter, saw how the family story had come full circle. What had started as a tragedy, Bella's abandonment, had evolved into a powerful narrative of redemption and growth. The shelter director now used their experience as an example of how addressing underlying emotional patterns could lead to lasting positive change. The bond between Bella and Max had deepened into something extraordinary. Their relationship demonstrated daily how past hurts could be transformed into sources of strength and wisdom. The older dog's gentle guidance of the younger one continued to provide a model for how the family could navigate their own emotional challenges. As their therapeutic sessions continued, Linda noted how the family had learned to use their observations of both dogs as tools for understanding their own emotional responses. They had developed a shared language around feelings and needs, often referencing Bella and Max's behaviors when discussing complex emotional situations. The mother's growing confidence in handling family dynamics reflected the balance she had observed between the dogs. Just as Bella maintained her nurturing presence while allowing Max to develop his own personality, she had learned to support her family members while respecting their individual journeys. Their home had become a place where emotional honesty was not just accepted, but celebrated. The presence of both dogs served as a constant reminder of how far they had come from the days when unspoken tensions ruled their interactions. Visitors often commented on the peaceful atmosphere and the special dynamic between all family members, both human and canine. The family's story had become more than just a successful case of pet adoption. It was a testament to the possibility of profound personal and collective transformation. Through their work with Linda, their support from Emily, and the daily lessons provided by Bella and Max, they had discovered how to break free from destructive patterns and create new ways of relating to each other. The passage of time had proven what Linda and Emily had hoped for, that genuine transformation was possible when hearts were open to healing. The family that had once struggled with cycles of loss and replacement had emerged stronger, wiser, and more emotionally connected than ever before. Bella and Max, once symbols of this struggle, had become living testimonies to the power of patience, understanding, and unconditional love. The ranch sessions had evolved into celebrations of continued growth rather than interventions. Linda watched with pride as the family demonstrated their ability to handle challenges with grace and wisdom. The father, whose unilateral decision had once triggered their crisis, now approached family matters with thoughtful consideration and emotional awareness. His relationship with both dogs showed how completely he had embraced the possibility of maintaining multiple heart connections without diminishing any. The mother's quiet strength had blossomed into confident leadership within the family. She had learned to trust her instincts, drawing inspiration from Bella's natural ability to nurture while maintaining healthy boundaries. Her observations of how the two dogs balanced their distinct personalities helped her guide her family through their ongoing journey of emotional growth. Lucas had grown into his role as the family's emotional compass. His natural ability to love both dogs equally continued to show everyone how hearts could expand without limit. The wisdom he had demonstrated throughout their journey remained an inspiration to both his parents and the professionals who had worked with them. The home that had once been filled with unspoken tension had transformed into a haven of emotional honesty and support. Bella and Max moved through their days in perfect harmony, their relationship a daily reminder of how past wounds could become sources of strength and wisdom. Their dynamic had become so remarkable that Linda often used their example when working with other families facing similar challenges. Emily's perspective from the shelter gave her a unique appreciation for how far they had come. The story that began with a golden-furred dog left in the cold had blossomed into a powerful testimony of healing and growth. New Horizons Shelter had seen many successful adoptions, but the transformation of this family held special significance. The impact of their journey extended far beyond their immediate circle. Their story of healing and reconciliation offered hope to others struggling with similar emotional patterns. The family had learned that true strength lay not in avoiding pain, but in facing it together, allowing love to guide them toward deeper understanding. Bella's position in the family had evolved from a symbol of loss to a teacher of profound wisdom. Her patient mentorship of Max demonstrated daily how love could transform fear into trust, confusion into understanding. Together, the dogs created a balance that reflected the family's own journey from fragmentation to wholeness. Their experience had shown them that healing wasn't about erasing the past, but about learning from it. Each memory, even the painful ones, had contributed to their growth. The family had discovered that hearts could expand endlessly when given the chance to heal and grow in an atmosphere of acceptance and understanding. Linda's final notes on their case reflected the extraordinary nature of their transformation. What had begun as a crisis of abandoned trust had evolved into a story of redemption and renewal. The family had not only healed their own wounds, but had created a model for others facing similar challenges. As winter once again embraced the Wyoming landscape, the family gathered in their warm living room, both dogs contentedly settled among them. The scene bore little resemblance to the tense household of the past. Instead, it reflected the peace that comes from genuine healing and the joy found in honest connection. Their story had come full circle, but rather than ending, it had transformed into a new beginning. Each day brought opportunities to apply the lessons they had learned, to choose understanding over fear, and to allow love to guide their choices. Bella and Max continued to show them how the heart's capacity for love could expand endlessly when given the chance to heal and grow. The legacy of their journey would continue to inspire others facing similar challenges. Their story demonstrated that even the deepest wounds could heal when met with patience, understanding, and the willingness to face difficult truths together. Through their experience, they had discovered that true healing wasn't just about recovering from past hurts. It was about creating new patterns of love and connection that would sustain them through whatever challenges lay ahead. Dear listeners, we hope the extraordinary journey of this family, Bella and Max, has touched your hearts as deeply as it has touched ours. Their story reminds us that healing is possible when we open our hearts to understanding and love. To continue experiencing more inspiring stories of transformation and hope, please subscribe to our channel and click the like button below. Your engagement helps us share these powerful messages of healing with others who might need them. Join our community in the comments section. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this remarkable journey of love, forgiveness, and new beginnings. Remember, every story of healing begins with a single step toward understanding.